Hello, hello. We have made it. I cannot believe we have made it to year 8. We got lots of stuff to review, so I'll just begin right now. Like, comment, subscribe. Here is a review of every FNAF release from August 8th, 2021 to August 7th, 2022. Act in haste, repent at leisure. After losing his friend in a terrible accident, Edward can't spend his money fast enough on a happy companion guaranteed to keep his friend's memory alive. Friendly Face, released on September 7th, 2021. This story is, unique. It's about a kid named Edward whose friend Jack is hit by a truck along with his cat Faraday. Fazbear Entertainment has this Friendly Face thing where if you send the DNA of your dead pet, they can make an animatronic version of it. Edward sends the DNA of Faraday to replace the kitty. It gets messed up. Turns out Edward accidentally sent Jack's DNA, not Faraday. That is because they died right next to each other. Whoopsie. So now there's a kitty witty little kitty cat, meow meow, with Jack's face on it. It's still a kitty though. Edward is horrified by Faraday and wants nothing to do with him. He's scared Faraday is trying to kill him. Faraday chases Edward down the street, and Edward gets hit by a truck too. Turns out Faraday was not evil. It was just trying to play with Edward. Well, that was a story, alright. I don't know, book 10 is my least favorite of the frights. Let's continue. Act in haste, repent at leisure. Mott quickly flushes his brother's creepy new pets, but the creatures have other plans. Sea Bonnies, released on September 7th, 2021. No one talks about this, but the Sea Bonnies are supernatural. Seriously, they are. There are multiple times throughout the story where the Sea Bonnies read Mott's thoughts and they legit speak to Mott. Yet Mott is the only one who ever hears them. And I don't mean this happens when they start living inside Mott. This happens before they manage to get inside Mott's body. Yeah, if you ever want to seem like the biggest FNAF nerd there is, tell someone that the Sea Bonnies, of all things, are a paranormal entity. Anyway, the Sea Bonnies threaten Mott and they kill his fish. No, not the fish! Mott flushes the Sea Bonnies down the toilet because he's scared if they multiply enough they might hurt his little brother, but somehow one Sea Bonnie ends up in Mott's glass of water. Mott drinks it, and the Sea Bonnies multiply inside him until Mott turns blue and is controlled by the Sea Bonnies. I don't know, man. These stories started off with supernatural activity everywhere, Afton's legacy trying to live on after the events of Pizzeria Simulator, and we learned about agony, but we go down the line of frights, and this is what it is at the end. It's like Scott decided to give us all the best fright stories within the first 6 books, then the last 5 he gave us the other stuff. Actually, scratch what I said, I do think this next one is cool. Act in haste, repent at leisure, eager to put her classmates in their place, homecoming queen, Jessica, doesn't stop to double check her homework, reprogramming a defunct animatronic. Together Forever, released on September 7th, 2021. This is a cool one. It's about 2 girls named Jessica and Brittany getting prepared for homecoming. However, there is a big issue. These 2 girls named Sydney and Mindy, Jessica and Brittany, hate Sydney and Mindy because, they just do, I guess. Jessica and Brittany have a project where they have to repair an animatronic called Rosie Porkchop, who is actually a spring-lock suit. Blah blah blah, they try to program Rosie to capture Sydney and Mindy inside her during homecoming, and then Rosie will do tasks for Jessica and Brittany, meaning Cindy and Mindy will be forced to do said tasks. And then stuff goes wrong and both Jessica and Brittany are spring-locked and their souls possess Rosie. I liked that we got a story involving the spring-locked suits. I thought that was cool. I do prefer the new kid though, but overall, Together Forever I think was a pretty decent story. Good send-off for book 10. Standing up for yourself can be hard. Jeremiah decides he's done being the butt of his co-workers' jokes at their small game studio. But when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's, even the most well-meaning actions can reap horrible consequences. Prankster, released on November 2nd, 2021. This is the shortest Fright story, not counting anything in Book 12. Prankster is about Jeremiah, who I am convinced is the Jeremy from Help Wanted. So what was it that Jeremy experienced before Tape Girl got involved and Glitchtrap killed him? Well, there was this girl named Hope, who I guess Jeremy really liked, but then Glitchtrap was like, nah, screw you, bro. Hope and another coworker, Parker, were beta testing Help Wanted together, and then both of them got possessed by Glitchtrap. Glitchtrap set up a huge party in the office for Jeremy's birthday and played a game of Saw with him. Jeremy had to find clues to where his friends are, but if he isn't fast enough, his friends would be killed. While finding clues, Jeremy begins to find his friends' body parts until he eventually realizes how real the situation is. Jeremy tries to escape his workplace, but finds a video of Hope and Parker laughing about the situation, and then they plan to cut off their body parts. Like I said, it's clear that both Hope and Parker are possessed by Glitchtrap. When they playtested Help Wanted together, Jeremy learns of Glitchtrap and tries to tell Silver Paracel something is wrong. They don't listen, Jeremy gets possessed, and eventually Glitchtrap forces Jeremy to take his life. Then we get to the events of Help Wanted. I think Prankster is great because I love the little clues Glitchtrap leaves for Jeremy while he tries to find his friends. All the different body parts being scattered across the office is super creepy, and the way it sets up Help Wanted is really good. It's basically a prequel. Standing up for yourself can be hard. Joel is counting the days until he can quit his family's garden center and hit the road to a new life. But when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's, even the most well-meaning actions can reap horrible consequences. Kids at Play, released on November 2nd, 2021. So this story is about Joel, who freaking hates working for his dad. He wants to start his own band instead. He's got goals. However, one night, he speeds in a ditch and hits a child, and he just drives off. I mean, you know what Johnny Lawrence says in a deleted scene in The Karate Kid, which is a movie that came out in 1984, right? Accidents happen. But that does not mean you can do what Joel did and drive off hoping it's all over. But what Joel does not realize is the Freddy Fazbear breakfast cereal he's been eating is cursed. When Joel killed the kid after eating that cereal, the toy inside the cereal, a Kids at Play traffic sign began to follow Joel everywhere. Everywhere Joel went, there was a Kids at Play traffic sign until Joel turned into the traffic sign. So I used to joke that Scott was just driving one day and saw one of those traffic signs, and then a light bulb popped up above his head. I always said this as a joke, but in the most recent interview, Scott said he'll just see something or something will happen in his normal day-to-day life, and that's how he comes up with a lot of the Frights and Tales stories. Two examples he gave were that Bunny Call was based on an actual thing at a summer camp he went to with his kids called a Panda Call. Scott signed his kids up for the Panda Call but regretted it that same night and did very similar things to Bob in the story. He also says Bunny Call is his favorite Fright story due to this. The other example he gave was Blackbird. Blackbird is Scott's sleep paralysis demon. Scott got sleep paralysis one night and he just saw the Blackbird hovering above him. Scott then made a whole story out of it. But this all means that joke I was making about Kids at Play is probably true. That is probably what actually happened. I now genuinely believe Scott was just driving somewhere, saw one of those signs, and boom, he got himself an idea. Well, one story left. Standing up for yourself can be hard. Amy finally works up the courage to ditch her loudmouth, annoying friend at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's, Even the most well-meaning actions can reap horrible consequences. Find Player 2, released on November 2nd, 2021. This is the finale to the Fazbear Fright series. Man, I'm so disappointed. These books started off so strong and then they just gradually got weaker. I don't think the second half of the Frights is bad by any means, but it's noticeably weaker than the first half. Find Player 2. I kinda like it though. It's about a girl named Amy whose friend Mary Jo goes missing at Freddy's. She was never found. However, that same day, a man named Emmett Tucker was arrested for trying to kidnap a different little girl. 10 years later, and Emmett is out of jail. Amy visits to interrogate him. He insists the girl he was accused of kidnapping was actually his daughter. Amy and Emmett get in a fight and he calls the police on her. Amy flees the scene quickly and goes back to where Mary Jo was kidnapped. However, the restaurant is no longer Freddy's. It has been rebranded to Flo's Fabulous Eatery, a cow-themed restaurant. Seriously, the employees are required to dress up as cows. Amy finds a back area that still has the maze from Freddy's inside. The hiding maze was where Mary Jo was last seen. Amy looks around the hiding maze and she finds Mary Jo's corpse. She has been decaying in the maze for a decade. Amy is also trapped in the maze with her dead friend. The end. Yep, that's the Fright Saga. Didn't miss anything. Nothing at all. Or did I? Struggling to find a balance between work life and spending time with his son, Officer Everett Larson has been given a brand new case. There's been rumors going around about a being called the Stitchwraith, a figure in a black cloak with a white face. He goes around killing people, and his victims cry out oily black tears. Larson has always dismissed these rumors, but recently, news about a girl named Sarah turning into trash has gone viral, and now it may be time to give the Stitchwraith case another look. The Stitchwraith Stingers started on December 26, 2019, ended on November 2nd, 2021. The Stitchwraith Stingers is one of the best FNAF stories we have ever gotten. Remember the real Jake? Jake's story isn't over. After Jake has died, his soul passed on into Simon, the doll Jake's dad had made for him. One day, a scientist named Dr. Phineas Taggart had been experimenting with agony, the most powerful emotion in the FNAF universe. Taggart believed that if he could get enough agony-infused objects, he would be able to create his own living entity. So he had many items such as the head of the Simon doll, an old endoskeleton, the battery pack of Fetch, a mirror that had witnessed a man murder his entire family. The room was full of agony-filled objects. Taggart put the head of Simon onto the endo and powered it using Fetch's battery. Then his creation was brought to life. Taggart was killed shortly after. His eyes bled out oily black tears. The Stitchwraith killed a few other people before taking a black cloak and running off. However, we learn what was going on inside the Stitchwraith. The Stitchwraith is possessed by a total of 4 spirits. However, at the start, we only meet 2 of them. Jake, the same Jake we followed in the real Jake, the one who died at the age of 9 due to a brain tumor. Since the doll he possessed, Simon, is the literal head of the Stitchwraith, that means Jake's spirit is the one mainly in control, and he's the one able to see out of the Stitchwraith's eyes. Then there's Andrew. His soul was inside Fetch, and unlike Jake, Andrew cannot see anything. He's just stuck in the Stitchwraith, able to hear everything around him, but he knows nothing of what is going on, which is a very, very scary situation to be in. Both Jake and Andrew are aware of the fact they are dead, but they also don't understand their situation that well. Jake remembers being sick, but he has no clue what happened in his life before dying. Dying in FNAF must freaking suck because there are all these memories you made throughout your life and made an established character for yourself, but if your spirit is still on Earth, even after you died, you just get to remember none of it. You know the memories exist, but you know nothing after that. Andrew's spirit is split up. It's not only in Fetch, but it's also in a bunch of other items that we saw throughout the frights, meaning only a piece of Andrew's soul is inside the Stitchwraith. All he remembers is someone hurt him. He doesn't remember who hurt him or how, but he knows he was hurt. He also remembers attaching himself to the man's soul after being hurt. Andrew is the one killing people, though he isn't meaning to do so. He says he just wants to scare them. The whole killing people thing is an accident. He also admits to Jake that he's infected a bunch of objects. So Jake makes it his goal to find everything Andrew has infected. Plushtrap, Ella, Foxy, Ballora, all possessed by Andrew. Jake gathers them and brings them to Phineas's factory to throw them in a trash compactor. Meanwhile, Larson is investigating the Stitchwraith and he manages to follow it to the factory, but it's too late. When everything is thrown into the compactor, all the agony-infused items come together, and we learn who the third soul in the Stitchwraith is. William Afton. He's the one causing Andrew to kill others. William's soul is also in all the items Andrew possessed. He had hitchhiked Andrew. Now, William knows exactly how he will be remembered in this world. William's soul is put back together as all the items turn into a giant 15-foot trash rabbit. He did it. William has become immortal, and now he will make sure to leave a mark on the world. William tries to kill Larson. However, Larson has the mask of the puppet. Charlie's soul never rested. She stayed inside the puppet mask until now. She helps Larson easily defeat Afton, and then it's revealed the only reason William was alive this entire time was due to Eleanor, the fourth spirit inside of the Stitchwraith. Eleanor was keeping William and his legacy alive. She was the core of all the bad things the objects Andrew and William were split across were doing. Eleanor was in all of them too. She was the reason for all the evil. During the fight with Afton, Larson was stabbed and almost killed. Jake cauterized Larson's wound to kill any potential agony that could infect Larson. However, Larson began to have visions of a ball pit. He goes to where the old Freddy's was to find the ball pit, and he finds that someone has been bleeding in the pit for 30 years. Eleanor. That ball pit at Freddy's was infected by Eleanor, a being created from the missing children's incident. Eleanor traps the souls of her victims inside the ball pit, where their souls are stuck in a time loop, reliving their last moments over and over and over again. Loops are a very common thing in FNAF. FNAF 1 and 2 are guards going through the same cycle of evil animatronics. FNAF 4 was originally an experiment forcing kids to do the same thing every night. Sister Location is a loop multiple technicians go through. Ultimate Custom Night is William being forced to do the same things over and over and over again. And the ball pit is a loop for the souls of Eleanor's victims. Eleanor uses her heart pendant to look like a druggie. She gets Jake's help by saying she is a girl named Renelle. Jake and Eleanor then find Renelle's father, Dr. Talbert. Talbert is studying Remnant, and he is almost about to give some to Eleanor, thinking that's his actual daughter, but Jake tries to stop this. Jake is shot. Around that time, Larson shows up. Eleanor torments Larson by throwing him through different memories, and the way Eleanor is stopped is Jake simply traps her inside of her own bad memory, and Eleanor is unable to escape it. Yeah, stopping her is pretty easy, I guess. Anyway, Larson keeps Talbert's pendant, spends more time with his son, and Jake goes into the ball pit from Freddy's, and he makes it his mission to free every single soul trapped in there. This was an amazing series. Every release of the Stitchwraith Stingers were 100% worth the wait. I love how it gives us insight on agony, an explanation on Remnant, and more. I love how it really plays into the supernatural realm of FNAF, gives an ending to William and Charlie's stories, and it even gives us time with the one you should not have killed, Andrew. Andrew is the vengeful spirit in Ultimate Custom Night. The Stitchwraith Stingers were an absolute blast. This is by far the best part of the entire Fright series. When it comes to Fazbear Frights, for the most part, I liked it. The quality was pretty mixed depending on the story, but the concepts were cool, and it is definitely a series worth reading and rereading. Dark Circus released on December 13th, 2021. The DLC to the worst FNAF game. Actually, I know I trash on special delivery, but I will say that the Dark Circus DLC is pretty good. Instead of augmented reality, this one is mixed reality. So you move your phone to look around and all, but you are looking through the game world. This game pretty much has you explore an abandoned circus and solve puzzles. I really like the circus theme to it because I think those always have a creepy vibe to it. When you solve a puzzle, you have to fight a different animatronic. The animatronics in this game are Ringmaster Foxy, Ballora, and Great Escape Golden Freddy. I like Ringmaster Foxy's design. The whip is a cool touch, and I like the outfit he wears. Great Escape Golden Freddy looks pretty cool too, and I like that we actually do get to see him chained up underwater before fighting him. It's a fun and creepy circus-themed event. Better than the base game by far.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for visiting, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Freddy and the gang are pretty tired, but they'll be back again next week after a few days of scheduled maintenance. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex is now closed, initiating nighttime protocols.
No! Wait, I'm still here!
Lights on! I warned you! I warned you! Naughty boy. You should be able to escape when the security doors reopen at 6 a.m. Until then, keep moving and try not to draw attention to yourself. If there is another way out, I will help you find it. I promise.
Please make your way to the front of the building, where you will be given novelty glasses, a voucher for 1 free soda refill, and where you will sign a legal disclaimer releasing us of all liability for anything that might have happened during your visit. Have an awesome night, and we'll see you again soon. Would you like to take a short survey about your experience?
Security Breach, released on December 16th, 2021. This game has had a lot of mixed reactions from the fandom. I believe the general take when Security Breach came out was that a lot of the fandom hated it. I think a lot still do. However, there are quite a lot of FNAF fans who love Security Breach. So where do I stand? Well, recently I've become more in the middle. However, I used to really be on the side that loves it. The Pizzaplex is genuinely my favorite FNAF location in the entire series. I mean, just look at the freaking size of this place. I sometimes get upset because I remember the Pizzaplex isn't real. If it was a real place people could go to, I'd be spending the weekends there all the time. There are so many different attractions: Spazzer Blast, Monty Golf, Roxy Raceway, Mazercise, Bonnie Bowl, 2 different arcades, a theater. This is definitely a family fun center I'd want to visit. Plus, look at all the colors, fancy lights, and decoration in the Pizzaplex. Something I have always praised Security Breach for is just the general look of the game. It feels very unique compared to the FNAF games that came before it. While most FNAF games have a similar visual style, Security Breach's visuals you can identify immediately. Also, the animatronics are some of the most unique ones this series has given us. Glamrock Chica, she has an endless appetite and lets everyone know it. Roxy loves racing and wants to make sure she is always number 1. She is in first place. Monty is a very angry gator. He wants to overthrow the band leader. Sun, he wants to play with children and make them happy, while Moon is aggressive and only wants to punish children. DJ Music Man is just a natural born DJ. Then there's Glamrock Freddy. How can you not love him? He's so dedicated to his job as a performer, and he is dead set on making sure Gregory is safe. Also, he's funny. The fact that, unlike the other FNAF games, this one gives us a friend is pretty cool. And the friend helping us is Freddy Fazbear himself. It's something no other FNAF game has done. I also like how throughout the game, Steel Wool makes it so that you need to explore pretty much every area of the Pizzaplex. That way, nothing in this giant Pizzaplex is missed. I always have and always will adore Security Breach for its uniqueness and its characters. Criticisms though, the game should not have been as buggy as it was when it launched. Also, in the recent Scott interview, we learned something big. I usually like Scott. I do think he genuinely cares for the fandom. However, I do not understand what his logic was with what I'm about to say. So apparently when Scott had Steel Wool busy with Security Breach, this dude just decided he was not going to tell Steel Wool anything about what the story is. He was just going to keep the story to himself, and he was just going to ask Steel Wool to put certain things in the game. Dude, if these people are making your game, you need to tell them the story. I'm assuming Scott probably did this with Help Wanted, Curse of Dreadbear, Special Delivery, and Dark Circus too. Which I guess with those games it worked out fine, but in Security Breach's case, Steel Wool was given pieces to put in the game, but they weren't told why this thing should be in the game, so they tried to put the pieces together themselves because Steel Wool thought it was their job to make the story. Yeah, I bet you can see how this caused a lot of issues when it came to people theorizing about this game, because now there were different pieces in the game that were meant to go somewhere, but they would get connected to other pieces that were unrelated. Or we'd have pieces of stuff meant to tell the same story, but instead we saw it as 2 different stories. It was bad. So bad to the point where, in order to correct Security Breach, we got an entire book series called Tales from the Pizzaplex, which were centered specifically around the lore of Security Breach. Security Breach's DLC Ruin was also meant to correct things, and Steel Wool's game after that, Help Wanted 2, was also made to correct Security Breach. We needed to get a series of 9 books which had a total of 26 short stories, a DLC, and a new VR game. No, it was not necessary for me to specify the game as VR, I just love Help Wanted 2. But we needed all of that just to correct Security Breach's storytelling. Luckily, Scott said he learned his lesson when it comes to future games that he has other dev teams working on, such as Ruin, Help Wanted 2, Into the Pit, and the game coming next year, Secret of the Mimic. Scott is actually telling them the story behind the games. While that's what he should have been doing to begin with, I'm glad he at least learned his lesson with Security Breach. While Security Breach definitely has very notable flaws when you find out about stuff like this, it's still a good game in my opinion. I really do trust Steel with the FNAF franchise, so I'm excited to get more games from them. A dark bridge to the past. Dirk sets out on a long-shot quest to recapture a cherished childhood memory from a unique animatronic pizzeria. Felix the Shark, released on April 19th, 2022. This is one out of 3 scrapped Fazbear Fright stories that were released to the public. Rather, the stories were just deemed not that good, or it didn't fit the overall story, or whatever, I don't know, but the 3 stories I am about to review are scrapped, which also means they are non-canon. Felix the Shark is about a boy named Dirk who swears that there was a Freddy's he went to that had a shark animatronic, but none of his friends believe him. Dirk searches around the entire country for different Freddy's locations until he finds the one that had a giant tank with a giant robot shark named Felix. Yeah, and apparently customers could swim around in the tank. Yup, very safe. Dirk locks himself in the tank and drowns in it because he's dumb. Anyway, I can see why this one got scrapped. Bro was putting way too much effort into finding this damn shark. There was also some puzzle at a water park or something, and some backstory on Felix being based on a real shark that killed a man's son. I don't know, it's weird. I see why this story got scrapped. Mandy finds something lurking in the files of her favorite horror game and opens herself up to a haunting. The Scoop, released on April 19th, 2022. This one is about a girl named Mandy who writes FNAF fanfiction while in class. I'm not joking. She rightfully gets bullied. She also has online friends that she talks about FNAF with all the time. Why does this story feel so relatable? But one day, while playing the mobile version of FNAF 3, she finds something in the files, an old restaurant located in Utah. Desperate to discover the secrets of the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, Mandy travels to Utah, finds the restaurant, but on the way, she has dreams where she is haunted by the spirit of a young boy. At the closed down restaurant, she finds a bear animatronic with the boy's body inside of it. Mandy only came here to discover the FNAF lore, but instead, she had just solved the case of a real missing kid report. Mandy learns that sometimes there are things that are more important than fictional lore about animatronics, that she shouldn't be looking too deep into actual events. I think the story is an allegory for how there have been numerous occasions where FNAF fans would call real businesses hoping to get that FNAF lore, but instead all they did was bother real people. The story is sort of an allegory for you should not look too deep into things sometimes, and that there is a massive difference between FNAF and the real world. When Mandy solves the case of the kid who disappeared, the kid's spirit shows up at her front door and says, "Thank you, bro." Anyway, I can see why this got scrapped as well. While we do have the whole indie games plotline, this story was kind of just too on the nose about it. But I do like the message. I mean, it's mainly the younger side of the fandom that does this kind of stuff, but still. In light of her son's fascination with Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Sylvia buys her son a unique birthday present. A Freddy Fazbear mask that's the genuine article in more ways than one. You're the Band, released on April 19th, 2022. This story is about a mom named Sylvia who who has a son obsessed with Freddy Fazbear's. Even though the restaurant has been shut down for years, her son Timmy is very invested in the missing children's case, specifically. She buys her son a Freddy Fazbear mask, but when she gives it to him, his behavior changes. He becomes really aggressive towards his grandpa and screams about protecting the others when his grandpa simply tries to cut some food with a knife. One day, Timmy follows a figure out his window and is lured somewhere. Sylvia is about to look for her son, but then she is approached by Michael Afton himself. He takes Sylvia to Freddy's to find out that Gabriel, the spirit of Freddy, is possessing Timmy and forcing him to perform on stage with the other animatronics. The puppet assumes Michael and Sylvia are here to hurt the children, so she attacks them all, but Michael simply removes the mask from Timmy's head, puts it on Freddy, Gabriel is back inside Freddy, Timmy is no longer possessed. Everyone is happy. Why did they scrap this? The one short story where you have Michael freaking Afton, and they scrapped it. I mean, all I can really think of is maybe it didn't match up with Sister Location's date, but other than that, I think it would have been really cool if this was an official story. I like You're the Band. It feels very, very FNAF, but those are the 3 scrap stories. In the end, things do get scrapped for a reason. These are probably all stories I'm not going to reread, but if you want some bonus Frights content and don't want to purchase the entire box set, the book is also available as an ebook. Some things are better left hidden. Jessica leads a double life from her friends and co-workers in the children's wing of a hospital, but in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, everything comes with a price to pay. Frailty, released on July 19th, 2022. This is the first story in the other series of FNAF short stories, Tales from the Pizzaplex. These stories are very security breach focused. This first one is about a young girl named Jessica. Now, at this point in the timeline, Eleanor is dead, but we still are seeing the aftermath of her victims. Jessica, one of Eleanor's victims, has been given the pendant from Larson. Seriously, I recommend reading the Stitchwraith Stingers, then reading Frailty immediately after. It is such a cool experience. Anyway, Larson gave Jessica the pendant. She is using it to look like a human again, but Jessica doesn't want to use the pendant for selfish purposes. The pendant is made of remnant, and Jessica uses this to heal sick children at the hospital she works at. However, as she scrapes the pendant more and more to save the kids' lives, she starts to turn back into what she really is, a pile of trash. Eleanor, years ago, had replaced Jessica's body parts with trash, and the only thing making Jessica look like a human is the pendant. While in school, Jessica makes a friend named Robert, who she eventually starts to like. Then, they agree to go to the prom together, but there's this one girl at the hospital who doesn't have much longer to live. Jessica feels selfish for going to prom instead of saving the girl's life. During the prom, Jessica and Robert kiss, but she gets oil all over Robert's face. Jessica runs away embarrassed back to the hospital. She scrapes the rest of the pendant, saving that little girl's life, but also sacrificing her own. All Jessica wanted to do was make things right. It sucks that Jessica blames herself for her situation because it's really not her fault. She didn't know Eleanor was evil, but the way she was so dedicated to helping sick kids shows how good of a person Jessica is. Frailty was a magnificent opening to Tales from the Pizzaplex. Some secrets are better left hidden. A forbidden artifact from her fiancé's past beckons to Selena, but in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, everything comes with a price to pay. Lally's Game, released on July 19th, 2022. This is a really good one. Selena and her husband Cade have just gotten married and they are moving in together. However, Cade has an old box in the new house that he doesn't want Selena touching. He is very protective over the box, and he even hid it from Selena. Suspicious of what Cade could be doing, Selena searches for the box, and when she finds it, nothing is in there. However, Cade is freaking out that Selena opened the box. He admits that when he was a kid, there was a doll he loved at the Pizzaplex named Lally. Cade played with Lally all the time until there was an accident at the Pizzaplex and Lally followed Cade home. Selena thought Cade was just young at the time and thought he was seeing stuff that wasn't there. Cade had kept Lally in a box for years until Selena had opened it. Selena does begin to see Lally around her house, and she feels like she is being watched all the time. She suspects Cade is up to something, but what she finds out is Cade had killed someone back when he was a child. Cade killed another kid at the Pizzaplex named Daniel, who also wanted to play with Lally. Daniel's soul then possessed Lally, and he is the reason Cade and Selena were in constant danger. Lally kills Selena, and now her soul, along with Daniel's, are both trapped in Lally. Basically, Lally cannot be taken out of the box, or else he will attack anyone Cade cares about. It's a creepy supernatural story. Also a weird fact, Lally's game is currently the last thing to happen in the entire FNAF timeline. Ain't that crazy? Some secrets are better left hidden. Maya can't resist the temptation to explore an off-limits area of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. But in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, everything comes with a price to pay. Under construction, released on July 19th, 2022. Okay, so Maya is celebrating her 16th birthday at the Pizzaplex. This is taking place when the Pizzaplex has literally just opened, so it's cool seeing all the early attractions such as a roller coaster and a VR booth. There's also an AR booth in the middle of being worked on, which Maya sneaks inside of, and then she dies in it. Yeah, womp womp bagok. Maya's soul is trapped inside the AR world, and she witnesses the entire world get cancer and die. Yeah, her family, her friends, and everyone that just exists on this planet gets cancer and dies. I don't understand this story. The real Jake was such a good way for FNAF to handle a heavy topic like cancer. The story was realistic, sad, emotional, but then we have Under Construction, which just takes like 20 steps backwards. It treats cancer like it's a joke, and overall, this story was just dumb. It sucks because Frailty and Lally's game were amazing openings to Tales from the Pizzaplex, but then the story to end off the first book is whatever this was. Luckily, this is pretty much the worst of Tales. Anyway, that was every FNAF release for year 8. My favorite release of that year is the Stitchwraith Stingers. I know it technically didn't all come out in year 8, but Stingers 10 and 11 did, and 11 is the finale. I love Jake as a character. He's one of the kindest kids I have ever seen in FNAF. Larson was a cool character. I like that this story had a main character who was a police officer. All the supernatural elements in the story, such as Agony, Remnant, made it all worth reading. It was also cool when these books came out, and everyone would theorize on what happens in the next installments. The Stitchwraith story gives a conclusion to the one you should not have killed, William Afton, and Charlie. It's such a beautiful FNAF story. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye everyone.